Breaking: Nigel Farage has just destroyed Starmer so brutally in Parliament that Labour MPs were seen fleeing the chamber in open disgrace. 17 cabinet ministers walked out. The Speaker completely lost control. And what Farage exposed about Starmer's secret dealings could bring this government down within 72 hours. If you want to witness the most devastating political takedown in modern British history, subscribe to UK Housing Insight now, because this changes everything. Here's what triggered the total annihilation. Just 3 hours ago, Farage stood at the dispatch box holding a manila folder stamped confidential. His opening words landed like a bomb. "Prime Minister, I have evidence that you personally blocked deportation flights to protect your approval ratings with activists." Starmer's face turned white. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner visibly gasped. Farage was not asking a question, he was springing a trap months in the making. Intelligence sources confirm Farage had been gathering this evidence since September, working with whistleblowers inside the Home Office who could no longer stomach what they were witnessing. These were not political operatives. They were career civil servants who had served under 5 prime ministers, breaking their silence because conscience demanded it. At 2:47 p.m., the chamber erupted. Farage produced the first document. A leaked Home Office memo dated November 15 showed Starmer personally intervened to cancel 3 deportation flights carrying 347 illegal migrants. The cost to taxpayers was £4, 2 million in wasted preparations. "These aren't my words," Farage declared, waving the paper. "These are yours, your signature, your decision, your betrayal." Starmer tried to respond, but his voice cracked. "The honourable member is misrepresenting," Farage cut him off instantly. "Misrepresenting? Then let me read your exact words from this WhatsApp message to Home Secretary Yvette Cooper." The chamber fell silent. You could hear a pin drop. Even hardened Westminster journalists looked stunned. Farage read aloud, "Kill the Rwanda flights. I don't care about the optics. Our base will revolt if we deport anyone before the May elections." Rachel Reeves buried her face in her hands. David Lammy stood up and walked out. The government front bench was collapsing in real time, but that was only the beginning. Farage reached back into the folder and pulled out photograph after photograph. "These are the 347 individuals whose deportations the Prime Minister personally blocked," he announced. "Among them, 73 have criminal convictions, 12 for violent assault, 4 for sexual offences, 1 for attempted murder." Chaos erupted. Cries of shame and resign echoed across the chamber. What the cameras barely captured was even more damning. 3 senior Labour MPs were seen crying, grown veterans of British politics reduced to tears by the scale of the betrayal. Margaret Hodge was overheard telling colleagues, "This is worse than Iraq." At least Blair thought he was right. Keir knew this was wrong and did it anyway. Outside Westminster, the contrast is unbearable. British veterans who served in Afghanistan are sleeping rough on Birmingham streets, while migrants are housed in heated 4-star hotels. James Morrison, a decorated corporal who lost his leg in Helmand Province, was photographed last week sleeping under a bridge. His monthly disability payment is £823. That same week, leaked figures show each migrant housed at the Hilton Westminster receives £2,100 per month in total support. We are talking Egyptian cotton sheets, 3 hot meals a day, private translators, and full medical access, while men who bled for Britain freeze on concrete. As UK Housing Insight has consistently exposed, this housing crisis is not about resources. It is about priorities. And it gets worse, much worse. The Salvation Army reports 3,400 veterans are currently homeless across Britain, veterans of Iraq, Afghanistan, and the Falklands. Men and women who risked everything for their country now beg for spare change, while illegal migrants receive free healthcare, free legal aid, and guaranteed accommodation. Tommy Wilson, who served 3 tours in Helmand, now lives in a tent near Manchester Piccadilly station. He told reporters last week, "I didn't expect medals, I didn't expect riches, I just didn't expect to be abandoned. His story is not an exception. It is the consequence of a government whose priorities have been laid bare, live, in Parliament, for the entire nation to see. Last week, temperatures dropped to -4. Tommy nearly froze to death. That same night, just 2 miles away, the Britannia Hotel housed 280 migrants in fully heated rooms, costing taxpayers £130 per person per night. That is £36,400 every single night at just one hotel. Multiply that across nearly 400 hotels nationwide, and you are looking at £14. 6 million per night, more than £5. 3 billion every single year. Money that could house every homeless veteran in Britain many times over. The contrast is so obscene, so morally bankrupt, that even Labour backbenchers are now revolted. Sarah Jones, Labour MP for Croydon Central, was overheard telling colleagues, "This is indefensible. We are finished." Working-class families in Stoke are facing heating bills topping £400 a month, while asylum seekers enjoy taxpayer-funded warmth. British pensioners are choosing between food and fuel, while foreign nationals who entered illegally receive both without question. Dorothy Matthews, an 82-year-old from Blackpool, died last winter because she could not afford to heat her home. Her daughter found her frozen inside her own living room. That same week, the government spent £3 million renovating a migrant centre, installing underfloor heating and ensuite bathrooms. This is not compassion. This is betrayal on an industrial scale. Then something truly unprecedented happened. The Speaker of the House, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, attempted to restore order, but Farage was not finished. At exactly 3:02 p.m., he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. "This next piece of evidence," he announced, "was recorded at Chequers last Sunday." He pressed play. The audio was unmistakably clear. Starmer's voice could be heard discussing how to manage the narrative around migration figures. "We need to hide the real numbers until after May," Starmer said on tape. "Tell the press whatever they need to hear, but keep the actual figures buried." Gasps rippled across the chamber. Then came the most devastating line of all. Another voice, identified as Starmer's chief advisor Morgan McSweeney, replied, "The real number is approaching 800,000 this year. If that gets out, we're finished." Starmer responded coldly, "Then make sure it doesn't get out. Use denotices if necessary." The Speaker demanded the recording be stopped, citing parliamentary rules, but it was already too late. Every MP heard it. Every journalist in the gallery heard it. Within minutes, the clip was trending worldwide. Farage, however, had saved his nuclear option for last. "Mr. Speaker," he said, lowering his voice until the chamber leaned in, "I have one final piece of evidence." He revealed the existence of security footage from Dover, allegedly showing coordination between the Prime Minister's office and people smugglers to time arrivals for minimal media coverage. The chamber erupted. Labour MPs screamed, "Liar," and "Prove it." Farage simply smiled and replied, "I will be handing this evidence to the Metropolitan Police within the hour." Palace insiders say King Charles watched the chaos unfold from Windsor Castle. His Majesty reportedly told aides, "This is deeply concerning for the stability of government." Privately, sources claim the King is furious not with Farage, but with Starmer. To the monarch, this represents a fundamental breach of trust at the heart of the Prime Minister's office. Senior royal advisors are now said to be discussing contingency plans should the government collapse entirely. The last time a monarch considered intervention of this magnitude was during Australia's 1975 constitutional crisis. Legal scholars warn the current situation may be just as severe. Professor Vernon Bogdanor of King's College London stated, "If credible evidence of criminal conduct emerges, the King would not only have the right, but the duty to act." The constitutional implications are staggering. Never in modern British history has a sitting Prime Minister been so publicly and comprehensively exposed inside Parliament. The optics are catastrophic for Starmer and electrifying for Reform UK, and the immediate fallout was nothing short of nuclear. After that final revelation, the pound immediately dropped 1.3% against the dollar. FTSE futures collapsed 2.8% in after-hours trading. Morgan Stanley issued an emergency note describing UK governance as fundamentally unstable. Goldman Sachs placed UK bonds on negative watch. The Bank of England called an emergency meeting for 6 a.m. Tomorrow, currency traders are now betting on a further 5% fall in sterling before the end of the week. International investors are pulling billions out of UK assets at speed. The Financial Times labelled it Black Wednesday too, but the shockwaves did not stop with markets. The housing sector reacted instantly. Rightmove reported a 12% surge in properties listed for sale within just 2 hours of Farage's speech. Wealthy foreign buyers began dumping London property. Estate agents in Mayfair reported panic selling unseen since the 2008 financial crash. As UK Housing Insight has warned repeatedly, political collapse translates into housing panic within hours, not weeks. Politically, the earthquake was even more destructive. 17 Labour MPs publicly announced they were reconsidering their positions. The Socialist Campaign Group called an emergency meeting. Unite Union leader Sharon Graham tweeted only 4 words: "This cannot continue." Behind closed doors, the rebellion was far larger. The North West Caucus, representing 31 Labour MPs, drafted a letter demanding Starmer's immediate resignation. The Red Wall Rebels group, with 47 MPs, began discussing coordinated mass resignations. Even Starmer loyalists started to wobble. His own parliamentary private secretary was seen drafting a resignation letter. WhatsApp groups exploded with frantic messages. One leaked text from a cabinet minister read, "It's every man for himself now, save yourselves." Another from a junior minister said, "I'm not going down with this ship." Resignation letter ready. Online reaction was nuclear. The hashtag Starmer trended #1 globally within 20 minutes, generating 3.2 million tweets per hour. Farage was right surged to #2. Even King Charles Save Us began trending. Protests erupted outside Parliament, with crowds chanting "Liar" and "Britain First." Birmingham, Manchester, and Liverpool saw spontaneous demonstrations. Police estimated 15,000 people surrounded Westminster by 4 p.m., though aerial footage suggested closer to 25,000. In Birmingham, 8,000 protesters surrounded Labour Party headquarters. In Manchester, 12,000 gathered outside the town hall. In Liverpool, dock workers walked off the job in solidarity. The BBC's political editor called it the most dramatic parliamentary session since Thatcher's downfall. International media reacted with disbelief. CNN described it as the end of British democracy as we know it. Fox News ran the headline, "British Trump destroys socialist Prime Minister." Al Jazeera reported, "UK government collapses in real time." Inside #10, pandemonium reigned. Ministers were reportedly shouting at each other. Chancellor Rachel Reeves allegedly hurled a coffee mug at the wall during the emergency cabinet meeting, screaming, "You've destroyed us all." Foreign Secretary David Lammy was overheard saying, "We are dead, completely dead. My career is over. All our careers are over." Health Secretary Wes Streeting reportedly broke down in tears, saying his constituents would never forgive him. WhatsApp groups named Survival Mode and Damage Limitation began forming, but increasingly the messages were about blame rather than rescue. Starmer's inner circle turned on one another like rats on a sinking ship. The question inside Westminster was no longer if they would move against him, but when. Angela Rayner appeared visibly confident. Sources say she has already begun preparing for life in #10. She was spotted meeting 12 Labour MPs in a Westminster restaurant, openly discussing transition plans. Ed Miliband reportedly told allies, "I give him 48 hours, maybe less." Even Starmer's closest allies have walked away. His campaign manager resigned by text message. His communications director simply did not show up for work. Inside Labour headquarters, Senior sources describe scenes of total collapse, staff openly weeping, resignation letters being drafted, and discipline evaporating by the hour. The Labour Party is no longer managing a crisis. It is consuming itself alive. One senior cabinet minister, speaking on condition of anonymity, said, "I've never seen anything like this. It's over. We all know it's over. The only question now is how much of the party survives." The party that won a landslide just months ago is now imploding faster than anyone believed possible. Starmer himself has not been seen since fleeing Parliament. His spokesperson cancelled all scheduled engagements, citing urgent government business. But insiders say the truth is far darker. According to multiple sources, Starmer is effectively paralyzed. He is reportedly unable to function, surrounded by lawyers attempting to limit the political damage. Reports claim he has refused food, refused to take calls, and is sitting alone in his office, staring at the wall. Senior aides privately admit the Prime Minister is in complete shutdown mode. But here is the layer that could trigger a general election within weeks. Secret documents allegedly obtained by Reform UK claim Starmer has been taking direct instructions from foreign NGOs on migration policy. The documents reportedly link to the Open Society Foundation and the European Migration Council, both funded by foreign billionaires with no loyalty to Britain. If these documents are authentic, and if they show what Nigel Farage claims, then the Prime Minister may have violated his oath of office. MI5 is now reportedly investigating whether national security has been compromised. Consider the implications. A British Prime Minister potentially placing foreign interests above British citizens, accepting what critics describe as indirect bribes from international organizations to betray his own people. The resulting constitutional crisis would be unprecedented in modern British history. Former Attorney General Suella Braverman has already called for a full criminal investigation. "If these allegations are true," she said, "we are looking at the greatest political scandal this country has ever seen, worse than Profumo, worse than the expenses scandal, worse than anything before it." Meanwhile, Nigel Farage is experiencing the greatest triumph of his political career. While Starmer hides, Farage has appeared on every major network, calm, composed, and increasingly prime ministerial. "I take no pleasure in exposing corruption," he said on Sky News, "but the British people deserve the truth." As UK Housing Insight and other independent platforms note, this moment marks a complete collapse of trust in establishment politics. While Labour implodes, Reform UK surges. The party announced that 50,000 new members joined within just 3 hours. By midnight, that number had risen to 127,000. Their website crashed under the volume of applications. Local Reform UK branches report phone lines jammed with volunteers desperate to sign up. The contrast could not be clearer. Farage standing tall while Starmer disappears. Reform UK unified while Labour fractures from within. And the polls tell a brutal story. Reform UK has surged to 31%. Labour has collapsed to 22%. The Conservatives are holding at 28%. Private polling seen by insiders paints an even darker picture for Labour. One poll places them at just 18%, the lowest level ever recorded. Another shows Reform UK at 36%, within striking distance of an outright majority. For the first time in British history, Reform UK is the most popular party in the country. Bookmakers now have Farage as the odds-on favourite to become Prime Minister by Easter. Farage is no longer just the opposition. He is the Prime Minister in waiting. The next 72 hours are critical. Parliament reconvenes tomorrow with a motion of no confidence already tabled. Labour rebels are being counted, and the numbers are devastating for Starmer. 52 MPs are currently considering rebellion, with 38 already confirmed. If 40 Labour MPs rebel, the government falls. Britain is watching a government die in real time. News channels have cancelled regular programming for continuous coverage. The BBC has deployed its election night team 3 years early. This crisis will be studied for decades as the moment populism finally broke the establishment. The question is no longer whether Starmer survives. The real question is whether the Labour Party survives what comes next. Is this the end of Labour's dominance forever? Did Farage just become the most powerful man in British politics? Or can Starmer somehow survive the unsurvivable? What do you think? Is Starmer finished by Friday, or can he pull off a miracle? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. And if this story shocked you as much as it shocked us, share it with everyone who needs to see what is really happening in Westminster right now. The mainstream media will not tell you the full truth, but we will.